Section 7 of A Rip van Winkle of the Kalahari, 7 Tales of Southwest Africa by Frederick, Cornell. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Leanne Fortune. I Lose Inyati, Part 1. Water, delicious cold water, being dashed in my face and trickling down my parched throat, brought me again to my senses. I lay, sore and bruised, and with throbbing head and limbs, beside some tall reeds, between which water glittered in the light of the rising moon. Inyati bent over me, and he uttered an exclamation of joy as I opened my eyes. "Master, master, I thought thee dead," he cried. "And surely would I have then died too. Right sorely did I beat thee, master, there among the devil flowers, to keep thee from the sleep that kills, but there was no one to beat me, and I had but strength and sense to tie myself too upon my horse before I too slept. And surely my sjambok must have helped them against the poisoned flowers, for they came right through, having smelt the water maybe, and brought us here to its very side, where I awoke to find them drinking. But the other is there in the dunes, he will sleep well, that one, and die." And die he did, for the next day, refreshed and fearing the flowers little in the daytime, we went back to the dune where we had left our packs. It was barely a mile, and about halfway we found the third horse dead. The pan was but a small one, and the delicious water of the night proved to be but a few gallons of stagnant liquid full of animalculae, but there was grass for the horses, and to our joy we found that the flower belt did not extend beyond where we had emerged from it. Bare dunes spread again beyond, but even these were welcome after our experience of the devil flowers, as Inyati called them. Buck was plentiful, and for a day or two we ate, drank, and slept to our heart's content, gathering all the strength we could for our next attempt. Inyati was full of confidence for the future, confident that we should never have difficulties to encounter equal to those we had surmounted, and that the diamonds and wives would soon be at our disposal. "North, master, almost due north now, and we shall find pans on the way with water. My magic stone has told me that, and it makes no mistakes. And tomorrow we start again, for the water will last but a few days moreover. We have been long on the path." Poor Inyati, the bravest, cheeriest comrade, black or white, that I have ever had. Little did I dream when he spoke thus, that he would never live to see the morrow. That evening, as we sat smoking by the fire, we noticed that the 2 horses were extremely nervous, pricking their ears and snorting as they cropped the dry grasses a few yards away from us. "Leopards," suggested Inyati. "There are many spoors here, but no lions." But scarcely had he spoken, when the booming roar of a lion came from the direction of the pool, to be immediately answered by another and another, until it was evident that the pan had been invaded by a numerous troop of them. We both started to our feet with the same thought in our minds. If they were hungry, they might probably attack the horses. It was still light, but no time was to be lost, so hastily cutting down a number of the stunted thorn bushes, with which the pan abounded, we proceeded to build a skerm in which to pass the night. We enclosed a space about 15 yards square, and into this we brought the horses, together with enough wood to keep a fire burning all night. And as the hedge was 7 or 8 feet in height, and of impenetrable thorn, we felt but little anxiety as to the presence of the lions. As night fell, however, their roars became louder and nearer, and by midnight there were at least a dozen of them pacing round our skerm, and barely kept at a distance by the frequent firebrands we threw over the fragile protection. Occasionally the huge beasts fought amongst themselves, and the snarling, growling pandemonium would become more deafening. Then this diversion would cease, and the whole troop would continue their pacing round our fence, sniffing and snorting at us through the thorn bushes, and making us feel as one can imagine a mouse feels when caught in a trap, and with a hungry cat peering through the bars at him. Time after time we scared them away by throwing firebrands among them, but always they returned, and to our dismay, long before morning, we realized that our stock of firewood would not nearly last till daylight. We had refrained from shooting, as it was impossible to see the brutes through our skerm, but as the fire got lower and they became more daring, we sent a few shots among them, and the hellish hubbub that ensued showed that some of them were hit, but this proved disastrous, for a wounded animal, in its death struggles near the fence, came in contact with the bushes and almost tore down our only protection before a few more bullets finished it. There came a lull for a short time after this, and we were congratulating ourselves that morning would soon be dawning, when the lions would slink away, or when the light would enable us to finish them, when without the least warning a huge form leapt clean over the hedge and landed in the centre of the skerm, scattering the few remaining embers in all directions. A second spring, and before either of us could shoot, the lion had pounced upon Inyati, and had him down upon the ground beneath him, shaking the poor fellow like a terrier shakes a rat. Mad with rage, I sent bullet after bullet into the brute's head and body, till the click of the hammer on my Winchester showed the magazine was empty, and the lion rolled over dead, with Inyati still in its mighty grip, and to all appearance dead also. Then I must have gone berserk mad. I remember cramming the magazine full again, and throwing aside the bush that blocked the entrance, I stepped out among the lions. I can never understand why I was not killed instantly, but not a lion reached me, and at close range I fired shot after shot in the bright moonlight, and lion after lion fell, till but two were left. And as morning dawned, these slunk away, leaving me alone with my dead. Then I came back to the skerm, my mad fit of rage over, and nothing but grief, and a sorrow too deep for words to express, left in my heart. The huge lion lay right across the poor boy's body, still gripping his crushed shoulder in its mighty jaws. But now I saw that in spite of his terrible injuries, Inyati was not dead, though he was dying even as I came back to him. Strong as I was, no strength of mine could have freed him from the grip of those terrible jaws, and as I struggled to do so, his beseeching glance stopped me. I knelt down beside him. "Finished, master, finished," he whispered. "Yet we have made a good fight, and you, master, will win. Straight north now. Bury the little gun with me, master. It may serve me, who knows? And take thou the blue stone, and this my armlet. It may help. Master, master, I go." And with his eyes fixed upon me, he died, that brave heart that had served me so well. I was stupefied with the blow that had fallen upon me, and lay for an hour or more as one stunned. Once or twice the craven thought came upon me to use a bullet to end it all, and once I actually lifted my revolver to my head. But dead Inyati's last whisper seemed again to sound in my ear. Had I made a good fight to end it like a coward? And so I lay in the shade of a tree, and sleep, the blessed healer, came to me and saved my reason. For when I awoke, although my heart was heavy, my brain was clear, and I knew what lay before me, and no longer shirked the task. The lion's head I hewed from its body, for I could not tear its huge jaws asunder to release Inyati, and there I buried victim and victor together. And so I was alone in the heart of the desert, with return an impossibility. I struck north, as Inyati had told me, due north, in spite of the fact that in that direction the dunes were of the worst, and for a day and half a night I wayfared, striving in sheer physical suffering to drown the sorrow of losing Inyati. God knows what I went through, or the poor horses that I drove ruthlessly forward. Moreover, the fever that was already burning in my veins may have rendered me delirious. Certain it is that this part, and many a day afterwards, is but a confused dream to me, a dream of suffering, of incessant wandering from pan to pan, here a few mouthfuls of stagnant water, and there a few tasama, still keeping myself and the horses alive. For days the wandering must have been purely mechanical, but one day I came to myself just as the sun was setting. I felt weak and exhausted, but perfectly sane. I was parched, and my water skin was gone, probably thrown away in a fit of frenzy or despair. I could not remember. The horses, mere wrecks of what they had been, were munching the last of a small patch of tasama, and I was barely in time to rescue a couple of still eatable ones to moisten my parched tongue. I had no idea how long I had been lying there unconscious, but the idea of pushing north had now become an obsession with me, and I staggered to the highest dune to look around me. I was still in a wilderness of dunes, but I noticed that what little vegetation there was new and strange to me. Indeed, except for the tasama, there was scarce a bush or plant I could recognize. It was evident that I had travelled far in my delirium, and my heart bounded as I made out, away to the north, a kopje of rugged rocks rising from the dunes. Here, apparently then, I was at length reaching the confines of this wilderness of sand, for these were the first rocks that I had seen since we entered the desert. It seemed a lifetime back. The kopje was in the right direction too, for Inyati had said, "Keep north," and by reaching it I should, at least, be able to spy out the land. I lost no time in saddling up. Finding that I had still a small amount of biltong and plenty of ammunition left, nearly all night I trekked through barren dunes, but these were now small and easy to traverse compared to the mountains of sand I had already passed through, and when I lay down for an hour before dawn, I felt sure daylight would show me to be near the kopje. Such was the case, for I found myself barely a mile from it, and soon had reached its bare and boulder-strewn base. It was perhaps 300 feet high, of bare granite boulders heaped one on the other, with big cavities between them, and all so rounded and smooth that I had great difficulty in climbing it. But at length I stood on the huge boulder poised on the summit, and from it, to my joy, I saw glimmering away on the far northern horizon a wide stretch of water. I rubbed my eyes and peered again and again, for often the false mirage had raised my hopes to a frantic pitch by its glittering deception. But this was water, and I could scarce refrain from setting forth immediately in its direction, yet, knowing the exhausted state of the horses, I feared to do so, and seeking a hollow under a gigantic boulder, I lay through the heat of that long scorching day, parched and longing for the water I had seen, dreaming of it when I dozed, and gloating over it when awake. How I would revel in it, could I ever be satisfied again to do aught but drink, and lay and soak my sun-scorched body in it, and drink again. End of section 7. Recording by Leanne Fortune, South Africa.